English King Richard III is one of the most polarising figures in history. Long before his remains were discovered in a Leicester City Council car park in 2012, debate on Richard was always vigorous, divisive and intense. In fact, it's hard to imagine a secular figure in history that inspires such a strong emotional response in so many people more than 5 centuries after his death. I'm Mark Porter, and I'm a realistic Ricardian. In the next few days, I'm leaving my home here in southeast Queensland and embarking on a journey that will take me to some of the most iconic places in Richard's life. But beyond that, we'll try and journey into Richard's mind as well. Using the few clues that remain, gain some insight into his personality, find out what it was that made him tick. So why don't you come along with me? Share in the excitement of discovery. Join me on my journey, one man's journey, in searching for Richard. The compass always points north, and that's the direction Ricardians all head in as well. And this quaint little town in Leicestershire is the place we all crave to visit. I'm staying at the atmospherically named ye-old Red Lion Hotel, a traditional English pub in the heart of town that dates back to the 16th century. It's time to get some serious and well-earned shut-eye. Tomorrow's a busy day, and I have a very early start. It's really difficult from the other side of the world to pinpoint exactly where the Battle of Bosworth took place. Most maps that show up on search engines still show Richard positioning his troops along the top of Ambion Hill, which is more than 2 miles to the northeast. The battlefield was rediscovered in 2009 when a group of researchers started turning up 15th century ordnance over here. From the position of the cannon and the shot, and also by looking at medieval battle tactics, they've actually been able to position Richard's line of battle as extending along the top of this ridge to my right. Richard's choice of this modest elevation would give his guns maximum effect, bouncing their rounds down the hill and potentially taking out several lines of advancing infantry, turning this peaceful terrain into a killing field. So what went wrong for Richard? Well, there's the well-known story of treachery of how his battle commanders either sat by idly and didn't engage the enemy or actively turned on him. But there's more to the story than that. Behind me there's a stream which runs all the way across the front of Richard's battle line. Now in Richard's day there was a fen, or a swampy marsh on either side of the stream that extended from behind me and all the way up and just beyond the fen lanes. This provided great protection for Richard's cannon because it would have stopped Henry making a lightning raid with his cavalry on the slow-to-move cannon. However, it also provided a critical weakness in Richard's battle plan. Richard's line appears to have straddled Fen Lane in the north, with the Duke of Norfolk heading his all-important vanguard to the right. In the centre was the Earl of Northumberland's men making up the reserve. Probably to the south of Richard's line was Sir William Stanley, and importantly, his line overshot the southern end of the marsh. As the Earl of Oxford advanced straight towards Richard's line, the king opened with a volley of fire. Oxford then swung his men to the north, taking them around the marsh and attacking Norfolk's flank. Norfolk responded by advancing around the marsh to meet Oxford, but by so doing, he potentially cut off Northumberland's approach to help. As Norfolk's line crumbled, the marsh effectively blocked Northumberland's ability to come to his aid. Northumberland may also have been wary about exposing his rear to the duplicitous Stanley, who was sitting back and watching how things would play out. When Richard started his famous last ride to reach Henry, he was able to slip behind Oxford's men down Fen Lane. Stanley was presented with a clear run to cut him off, taking his men around the marsh to the south. And that was it for Richard. It was just over there that they found the gilded badge which is associated with Richard's last stand. Probably like all battles, there was no one clear factor that determined the outcome, but certainly the treachery of the Stanleys, coupled with the limited manoeuvrability of the field caused by the marsh, spelled the death of the king. And Oxford, what a stroke of genius to use the marsh to his advantage. And Northumberland? Well, surely he could have done something. Visiting the Bosworth field battle site has been a profound experience. For me, an admirer of Richard, it's been both sorrowful and sobering, but incredibly fulfilling as well. Now at last I can visualize what took place that day, and better understand why Richard's end came here. But it's time to move on. There's so much more to see here, and the day has just begun.